Your creativity is being crushed, and there's only one reason for this. It happens because you don't think about the business side of things. But what if I told you that business isn't the enemy of creativity? It's actually the thing that is going to help your creativity grow, multiply, and reach more people. So in this video, I'm going to show you why creativity and business are not opposites, why they need each other to truly thrive, and how you can start embracing that today. Most people think creativity and business structure are completely opposites. But they believe that if you add structure to your creativity, it kills it. But that's not true. The truth is you don't need more creativity. You need more structure to let your creativity grow. When you are a creative person, I am one, you have constantly a million ideas constantly, running through your head all the time. And everything around you kind of inspire you in a way. But because of that, it can feel, really overwhelming. You don't know which idea to start with. You jump from project to project, and sometimes you don't even start because you are paralyzed by all the different options that you have. And that's exactly how I felt. I was super creative, but I'm still is. But I needed, a couple years ago, I needed a system to organize my ideas, prioritize them, and turn them into real projects, real tangible projects. And it wasn't about reducing my creativity. It was about building a box where I could, store my ideas, sort them, and make them, actually, actionable. For me, that structure came when I studied at IFM in Paris. At first, when I came into school, I thought they were kind of killing my creativity, but which, they weren't. But they gave me frameworks to kind of organize my ideas, plan my work, and go from inspiration to, a project, tangible project. When I first arrived at IFM, I had so many ideas and my creativity was all over the place. During my first presentations, I remember I had so many ideas and I kept telling all my different ideas that I had about a single project to my professors, but every single time they, cut every single one of my ideas, they cut them out. And their feedback was always the same. They constantly told me, it's great that you have so many ideas, but try to focus just on one idea. Focus on one. Take one idea and dive deep into it. And at first I was frustrated because I wanted to explore all my different ideas that I had for one single project, but they told me to just focus on one. So that's what I did. And by doing this, I wasn't just skimming the surface of all my ideas. Out of that single idea, I was able to squeeze everything that I could from that one idea. Focusing on that one main idea until there was nothing left out of that idea. By doing this, my creativity was able to expand within a really clear framework. And by focusing on one main idea, I was able to explore all the possibilities that came out of that idea, something that I would never had done in the past, focusing on so many things. And that's really how I was able to, one of the ways I was able to really structure my creativity and really, taking one concept, one idea from my head and really transforming it into something tangible. So structure isn't about limiting your creativity. It's really about giving it space to grow. And this is the part most creatives don't realize. Structure doesn't limit your creativity, it amplifies it. And really think about this. The moment you learn how to structure your creativity, you unlock the ability to turn your ideas into reality. And by the way, if you want to dive deeper into topics like these, tips, lessons, and insights on creativity, business, life, fashion, you can subscribe to my email list. It's the first link in the description. So that was the first point. Structure your creativity to grow it. So for the second point, and for that one, let me make something really, really clear. Business is not the enemy of your creativity or creativity in general. Business is what allows your creativity to be structured, to be multiplied, and to grow. There's a false belief among creatives that business is all about, numbers, it's soulless, it's, not human, that if you are, creative, you shouldn't care about business. But here's the reality. Without business, your creative ideas stay stuck in your head or stuck in your drafts. And let me share a personal story here. I've always been passionate about, business and creativity. But there was a specific time where I didn't really think about the business side. When I was 16, I remember spending days and days designing t-shirts on my computer. And the designs were great, a lot of people loved it, from my family to my friends, they were great. And thinking about it now, I could have sold them. I could have sold the t-shirts, build a website, make the t-shirts and sold them to more people. But at that time, I was only thinking about the creative part, which was great because it's the first part, but I wasn't thinking about the business part, which is the second thing you need to think about. But until this day, all those designs are still stuck in my email as a draft, and they've never been printed, never been sold. And thinking about it, it's a shame, because my creativity could have been exposed to way more people. It could have impacted way more people, even if it was just a small project. Maybe it could have become something big. Who knows? But it didn't, because I didn't act on the business side. And maybe you can relate. Do you? And that's not the goal. The goal is for your creativity, whatever the form it takes, to be seen by the world, to be experienced by people. In business and entrepreneurship, give your creativity a vehicle to make that happen. It's the foundation that allows your ideas to move, evolve, and actually impact people. And let me give you a really short personal story from Dior. When I was working there was a lot of tensions going on between the design studio, the designers, and the marketing team. The designers wanted, full creative freedom. They didn't want any limitations on what they were designing. But sometimes the marketing team would give them, strict instructions to follow. Why? Because the marketing team's job at the end of the day is to market the product, of course, but it's to sell the product, to sell it. They study the market, the customers, the trends, the data. And based on this, they know what sells and what doesn't. So they give really clear frameworks to the designers, not to limit them, but to actually make sure that, whatever they're designing actually is a success in the market, can be sold. And sometimes what sells isn't the most creative ideas. Sometimes it's something simple, even boring, but it sells. And as a company, it needs to sell to survive. So this created a lot of tensions, but at the end of the day, both sides, the marketing team and the designers, were right. The designers wanted to create and the marketing team wanted to sell. And the structure that business provided allowed both of them to happen. The designers were still creating, but now their creativity was inside a framework, a clear structure that made it possible to reach more people and generate results. So that's what Dior succeed. Not because of pure creativity alone, but because of the combination of both creativity, business, and structure. So you see, business is simply a bridge. It connects your creativity to the world, and that's how you should see it. So business isn't a limitation, it's a multiplier. Without business, you can be the most talented designer, but no one will actually see your work. You won't inspire anyone. You won't get paid for your talent. Your creativity will be stuck in a loop of, what ifs. Think about the most successful creative people you admire. At some point, they all had to embrace business to scale. They understood markets, customers, strategies. That's how they built leverage. That's how they got their creative work in front of millions of people. So you really need to shift your mindset. Business is not about spreadsheets and numbers. Business is the tool that allows you to put your creativity onto the world. It's how you reach people, inspire people, how you make an impact. Now, final point, and this is really where everything comes together. You really need to stop seeing yourself as just a creative person. You really need to start seeing yourself as a, creative founder or a creative entrepreneur, or whatever term you want to use. All of this to say that you really need to have an identity shift, because most creatives wait for someone to pick them, wait for a client to choose them, wait for a brand to discover them. But founders, they choose themselves. They don't wait. You're not just a designer or whatever creative you are building something, and you want the world to experience it, because you have the potential to own your own brand, your own company, your own platform. And the moment you realize that, you'll stop waiting for permission to share your work, because society often labels creative people as different. Maybe you have some friends working in finance or law who don't really understand what you're doing, but let me tell you something. Creative people build this world. They've built everything on this world. But look around you. Every single object, the building you're staying in, to the clothes you have on, to your phone, everything was created by a creative person. Every single thing on this earth that is man-made. The world was created by creative people. People like you. You have in you what people who build this world had in them. And this is super powerful, and you need to realize it. But here's the thing. Creativity adds something to the world. See it as a plus, the plus sign, creating something out of nothing. It's a plus. And business and marketing is what multiplies it. Here's an example. Every single product you see in every single store was created by a creative person, but it became global. All these products became global because business people, entrepreneurs, marketers, build the systems to multiply the products. So that's really the balance you need to really find in yourself. You need to be both the plus, the creative person, and the multiplier, the business person. So you need to become both. You need to own that identity shift. Because most creatives conform and stop being creatives because society pushes them to. But this shouldn't happen. You know, your creativity is a gift. Your creativity is what really differentiates you from everyone else on this earth. You know, it's your superpower and you need to use it as much as you can. So once you make that identity shift, everything will fall into place. And you'll find the confidence to put your work out there. And you'll naturally start thinking about, you know, structure a business and how you can kind of scale your creativity. So the mindset shift from, you know, creative to creative founder or entrepreneur or whatever you want to call it is kind of the first step towards creative freedom and independence in a way. And I swear it's just a mental switch that you need to have that will give you more energy, more drive, more clarity to really take your creativity to kind of the next level. So to conclude, remember that creativity is a spark and that business is the fuel that keeps that spark alive, if you want, burning, and really growing it into flames that could potentially light up the whole world. So don't shy away from the business side. Don't see it as the enemy, you know, and really embrace it as your partner. So you have the ideas, you have the passion. Now give yourself the permission to build the structure, the mindset, the identity that will really multiply your impact. Because your creativity deserves to thrive. Not just in your mind, but out there in the world where it can really have an impact. So take the leap, you know, start structuring your creativity today. Start thinking like a founder and watch your creative vision grow beyond anything you've ever imagined. And don't forget to subscribe to my email list for more insights, tips on creativity, but also on life in general, business, fashion. First link in the description.